So, business leader, which one do you need to focus on? Is it strategy? Is it marketing? Or is it systems? So, I'm joined by two of my team members who were ex-clients and now friends. Juliana Wise, a certified project manager. She's been in this podcast before, as well as Monica Schrock, a marketing strategist and consultant. Monica's also been in this podcast twice before this episode. And it's going to be a heated debate on which one's the best, strategy, marketing, or systems. It's basically a WWE Smackdown. I'm kidding. Well, we're going to be sharing how to create aligned strategies and implement systems, strategies, and marketing to work for you as a whole human. We even talk about mental health, how to see yourself as a whole human and that you don't have to function like everyone else. So let's drop the beat. Legacy leader, welcome to the Color Your Dreams podcast for women of color and allies. I'm Elaine Lucartas, your host and a business and career coach that LA Weekly named the #1 thought leader and Apple News named one of the top 5 business coaches. I know you've established yourself in a leadership and executive role, and this podcast is here to remind you that you can create a holistic life so you can lead without sacrificing your well-being. So expect me and my guests to have some conscious conversations with you on creating intentional direction and sustainable strategies so that you can create an aligned team, career, business, and life. Don't worry, I'm not going to give you a one-size-fits-all prescription. You'll learn how to define your own holistic leadership so you can prioritize a life led by fulfillment and self-trust. Now, grab your coffee, tea, or boba, and let's follow your dreams to lead your legacy. Hey, legacy leaders, it's boba time because, as you know, in my podcast intro, I talk about go get your coffee, tea, and or boba, and Juliana out-Asianed me and bought me boba, and Monica's boba is on the way, and Juliana has boba. Thank you, Juliana.
Thank you, Juliana.
You're welcome. We're staying on brand here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Juliana, I mean, not like she's really good in systems or anything, but I was like, ooh, I'm going to start implementing this with my podcast guests. I will buy them boba for a call. We'll do boba time. So thank you, Juliana. Which leads me to this podcast episode. We're going to be talking about the #1 thing to do in strategy, marketing, and systems. I'm going to be the strategy head here. The marketing head is Monica with a bright, is that red or pink?
Pink.
Okay.
Pinkish red.
Pinkish red.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
And then Juliana with systems. So let me just go brag about these amazing humans here. So both Juliana and Monica were former clients, and then we made it to the friend zone. We're still friends, right?
Still friends.
Okay, friend zone. Not trying anything more. And then I hire them. So what I tend to do is if I really like you, I'll just end up hiring you. That's what happens. So Juliana is a certified project manager, PMP, not PIMP, not to be mistaken, MBA, 12 years of experience doing retail operations, marketing, product development, product launches, and working with 8-figure companies. And you might be familiar, Juliana, because she has the #3 most downloaded podcast episode. It's episode 43 on leading change and managing overwhelm. But what I love about Juliana is it's not just people think systems in terms of creating these different operations, but what Juliana thrives is helping teams work cross-functionally to provide amazing customer support, like how my boba is right here. Juliana, anything else you want to brag about yourself?
You covered it. You made me sound better than I think I can. Thank you.
I know. It's what is it called again, Monica? Like the lineups in the beginning? when they call each
like
player.
starting lineups.
Yeah. I'm trying to be like the starting lineup for game. All right. And an
announcer.
opposing team. I'm kidding. Monica with a bright pink hair. So Monica is a marketing strategist and consultant and also a marketing manager for the NBA team, Portland Trailblazers. The unfortunate thing, and just going to warn all of you listening, is Juliana and Monica don't like the Lakers. So that's what I learned.
Nope.
Haters. But you know what? I'm just going to record this and say, I think we should probably consider therapy because Juliana apparently does not like any NBA team, but she hates the Lakers. It's a strong word, Juliana. I just want to remind you.
Yeah.
If there's any NBA team to hate, they make it kind of easy, to be honest.
I'm going to change topics right now. So going back to Monica. Monica created their own vegan body care line and has helped 200 plus companies. Monica is also non-binary and has shared openly about her journey being bipolar. And Monica is a favorite. They've been in 2 episodes, episode 4 and 38, about how to be less dependent on social media. And Monica's also a favorite among my clients. So Monica will take over my business. Apparently, that's what's going to happen.
No, never. You're not replaceable.
So before I get into like kind of the questions, but I would love to hear, Juliana, from you. What made you get into systems? Why are systems sexy?
Ooh, systems are sexy.
Or is that a very strong, bold word?
Sexy or systems? I think they're both great words.
Okay, apparently they're same synonyms. Go ahead. What do you love about systems?
What I love about systems is that they, to me, are the central hub for getting things accomplished, whatever it is you're trying to get done. And I am somebody who likes to connect the dots. So for me, systems are really the way that you get all the various departments in a company working. And it's the way that you make things a little bit easier for everyone else. So I love it because I love being helpful. And that's what systems do for me.
Monica, I mean, I know you're more so marketing, but what are you grateful for from systems?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm also mostly but I do a lot of project management. So project management tools and systems to get things accomplished are very, very important in marketing also. Because I mean, without the systems, that things wouldn't get done. Like it's like the foundation of a business actually functioning. And really marketing, I think, is like so rooted in creativity that it needs systems to like take those creative like ideas and that creative energy and actually like implement it across like businesses and things like that. So I'm grateful to systems for getting marketing like out of ideation and into the world so it can help people's businesses.
Yeah. And then when I think about like in the strategy side for systems, like I remember the beginning of my business, I was just like throwing spaghetti in the wall. People have heard of that. Like what's going to work? But then you actually have to see what's working and then figuring out, okay, what I'm going to focus on working. And a lot of the work that Juliana, you and I did back, we started 2020? Was that when it started?
Yeah, 2020.
We like just started putting systems in place when I was doing all the events and even onboarding. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have to do all of this. Monica.
Yeah.
I mean, your name starts with an M. So besides your name starting with M with marketing, what made you fall in love with marketing?
Yeah. Besides the alliteration, marketing. Yeah. It's something I kind of stumbled into. I think like I went to college to play basketball and, they were like, hey, 19-year-old, you have to pick what you want to do for the rest of your life, which is always a wild question. But I was a practical young basketball player. And I was like, oh, should probably go to business school. That sounds like it would be helpful. And then I was like, oh, marketing seems like the least boring business prong. So I just was like, yeah, I'll just do it. And I actually really liked it. I was really surprised by my interest in like consumer behavior and like the creative side of it and even like mathematical side of it. So I just kind of like actually chose it randomly in college and really just like liked it and ran with it and came out of school and just did it. And I've done it the last 15 years. So it's kind of just something, I don't know, I've really vibed with. For me, marketing doesn't have to be anything less than like really like helping people or being really fun. Like for me, it's like you're putting things into the world and honestly, you're just offering people something you believe in. So for me, actually like getting something out there for clients that is something they really believe in and helping them like, ripple effect to more and more people is just really fun. And it's like someone else's idea. They love it. And then I get to just kind of bring ideas to the table and make it easier for them to like make money and reach more folks. And yeah, I mean, there's like no downside to that. really.
Yeah.
It's like fun all the way around.
And Juliana, I mean, you've worked with big 8-figure retail and product-based companies. What have you seen with marketing, why it's so important that you've seen on the system side?
Well, I mean, kind of what Monica was saying, marketing, it tells your message. So if you want to talk about a certain product that you're selling or the feature of the product, you need marketing to tell that story. What I truly love about marketing is it's like the creative aspect of business. It's you have a product, you have this idea of why you made the product, but you need to tell the customer and let them understand and really feel what that business is, help them fall in love with the brand, the product, the person selling it, the effect of what their dollars do for the company. Like I think about Patagonia and how your dollars are going towards the environment, the product, the sellers, the growers, the people that are working within the company, and all of that comes together through marketing. So it's,
no big deal.
I say that systems are the central hub, but marketing might be like a close second.
Yeah. So this call is a verbal, audible fight between
this is a showdown.
Yeah, it's a showdown.
Totally a
between
face-off.
Which one do you need? Strategy, marketing, or systems? But the reality
Spoiler alert.
A spoiler alert. You need all three. I'm sorry. Like it's a tie. Everyone gets a trophy. How millennial of this, right? Everyone gets a trophy.
Everyone.
But I mean, thinking about how effective with marketing, Monica, we started working together. Well, for me, hiring you, because I know you've been a client last year, 2022. Oh my God, I was going to say 21.
2021, maybe?
Is it 2 years?
I think it was 2 years, yeah.
Oh, happy 2 years. Okay, happy 3 years with you, Juliana. I don't know. It's just time. I'm like in love with both of you.
It's a construct.
We were even joking around at the beginning of this conversation, like, oh, why'd you get me boba? And Juliana, remind me, your intro says grab your coffee, tea, and or boba. I'm like, oh my God, my messaging is working. Thank you. Enter Monica.
So welcome.
But I also, and for those business owners listening, right, I remember there was a point where it was packed with like 2020 when everything shut down. So we we're always looking at our screen like, oh my God, do I need to talk about this? Do I need to be a DEI consultant? Because everyone's talking about this. Because you could get trapped in everyone's talking about this. I need to talk about this too. As opposed to, it's important to focus on what you want to talk about. Anything you want to share there, Monica? Like the balance of the trends versus and making sure that you're also honoring your messaging and branding.
Yeah. Oh, trends, man. They really will they'll run you dry and they'll actually they'll take attention away from what you really are trying to do with your marketing. Because marketing, I always say is like a practice and repetition. Like marketing is repetition. Branding is repetition. Like
repetition.
System is repetition. This is all things that take lots of takes and tries and time to actually really get hitting. So when people go from trend to trend to trend, if you're really good at bringing your message across all of those things and have a strategy around it, then do the trends, do you. But a lot of the times people will just get distracted and go into this trend direction and forget to use the core messaging that they have, or forget that maybe this thing that they're trying to do, the new trend, doesn't actually bring anything back to their original goal. So it's kind of staying on course and remembering what is my goal with my marketing, which a lot of people kind of forget to set, honestly, and really are just I know I need to be on Instagram and I know I need to do these things, and we'll just do them without setting goals around them. And it's hard to really do marketing efficiently when you don't have that North Star goal that you're trying to get to.
Juliana, I mean, systems is obviously repetitive, but what do you want to add to that when it's a client comes to you and it's okay, we're going to do this because everyone's doing it?
Mm-hmm. As both of you were talking, I keep thinking this phrase, words mean things. You mentioned boba in your opening, so I know that's something that's important to you. I'm just going to keep bringing it back. It's a great example. So it means something. It's like a continuity throughout your brand. If I had sent you boba and you were like, I don't even like boba, I'm not going to drink this. It's not part of your brand. So why would you speak to it up front in the beginning of your podcast? So, tying that into systems, that means that if you're marketing, let's say, a particular pair of pants, but you don't have those pants in stock, or you're marketing them at $4, but they really should be $12. All these things mean something. They have to tie back to your business, which is why the systems are important, so that your messaging is tied to the central point of why your business exists. So again, a tie for all three reasons that we're here.
Yeah.
Well, and it goes back, and then let me tie in the strategy part. Like, what is your goal? What is your intention? Like when I was working with you, Juliana, doing the events, like, okay, my goal is like to have these people at the events, hopefully become a client. And then we nailed that down. And then with you, Monica, it's like, listen to Monica's 2 episodes that we also have here in the Color Your Dreams podcast is I don't want to be dependent on social media. So what can we do?
Yeah.
And now it's all email, podcasts, 70% referrals or renewals. That's it.
SEO.
Yeah. And SEO.
Yeah.
So there's a great book that I read called The Prosperous Coach. Definitely get it. I'll put it in the show notes. It's not just for coaches, but any business owner. And there's a Venn diagram. So imagine one circle being the creating the product and service. And everybody loves that piece. I'm creating pants, like you were saying, Juliana, or I'm creating a service, marketing strategy. But then there's also doing the second part of the circle. The second circle is the internal stuff, the systems, the marketing. And to be successful in business, you need both, not just creating an amazing product or service, but also the internal thing. It's like driving a car. It's not just driving the car. You need to put gas if you have a gas car, or change the oil. If your tire gets flat, you need to change the tire. So not trying to make it a competition, but I would love to hear from both of your perspectives. Juliana, you first. Can you share why systems are important or why you think it's the most important in business?
This is starting to get like real face off.
I know, but I think it's sometimes right now, it's like the NBA, like Western Eastern Conference when this is being recorded. And then by the time this comes out live, we'll know who wins.
Yeah.
The Lakers.
No, definitely.
Yeah, by then we'll know that the Lakers have lost. For sure.
The Lakers got swept.
You are my guest in my podcast home. Respect.
Mm-hmm.
Please be respectful of this Zoom room.
We will know that they're enjoying a great meal after they lost. But systems are the most important because it's like debate style. Back to the central hub, I love your example of driving a car because I was thinking like systems are one thing. It's like, how do all the departments within a business or an operation speak to each other? But there's also the timeline aspect of it, planning ahead and knowing, let's just use the pants example. I'm going to buy 60 units of this pant, which means that I'm spending X amount of dollars, which means that I need to sell it to then have more dollars to purchase more product. So all of these things, like just looking at your purchasing timeline, like where do you need a cash infusion so that you can continue having inventory on your website? Looking at systems, just using inventory as an example still, when is it going to go onto the website? If you receive it, but it sits there for 4 weeks and it's not a sellable product, your system's broken. So one thing is good to have the system and all the little kinks in your project or whatever it may be, your operation. You have to know all of the steps to get something done first. Then you have to plot them out on a timeline so that you know when and how they happen. And then you just kind of have to watch it, make sure that these things are happening according to when you expect them to happen, or assessing and seeing what the problem is. If for some reason you receive something and it doesn't wind up sellable, you can assess, fix it, and then the next time you don't have those same problems. But if you don't have the system in place in the first place, you can't assess and figure out what those problems are to then fix them. And just using that example still, we're looking at the inventory, but it's also the finances. Are we tracking this? Do we know where the dollars are coming from? Do we know why or when or how are we going to be able to, at the end of the year, tell our accountant where these dollars came from or where they were spent? So just understanding all these different spokes within getting your business accomplished is the first most important thing and part of systems. And then the second part is working the system, watching it, and then reacting to whatever happens within that timeline.
I have a question, which I feel like if I have this question, then people might have it that are listening to this episode.
It is a debate, everyone.
No, this is not a debate. I think while I was listening, I'm like thinking about, I know this is some of the systems you're talking about, but when we're talking about systems, what is the spectrum of that we're talking about when we're talking about systems? Because there are marketing systems, right? And is that included in the systems or maybe just...
Yeah, that's a good question because I was trying to give it like a simple example because systems can be so robust. I'm just using inventory as an example, but that inventory also touches marketing because you need to receive it and know, whatever, take the picture, put it on the website, tell the customer it exists, make sure that your social media timelines all relate to when that's arriving. I mean, there's so many things. So when we talk systems, it could be just the marketing system. It could be just the financial system. It could be, your staffing, your HR. You need to make sure that you have the staff available to do the work that needs to get done for your system to work. So depending on your business, it's also a little tough because it could be an inventory holding business. We could be providing a service. We could be, I guess those are the two types of businesses, but truly any business has their own set of systems that need to touch the whole 360 of what that business pertains to. So I love that question because it really needs to take into consideration all of the areas of your business. If I'm providing a service, maybe the financial isn't as important as if I'm buying and selling inventory, but it's still a portion of, if we talk about the tax dollars at the end of the year, it's important to make sure that you can track both, it cost me this much to drive to this client, we bought this dinner, whatever it looks like that you need to tell your accountant at the end of the year, that could be your simple financial system. So it should include everything that it takes to get your business done. Thanks for asking. Good question.
Yeah. I just want to say that this is a trick question, Elaine, because with Juliana's answer just then, your entire business is systems, whether they're marketing, finance, operations, strategy.
Well, and I even think like outside of business, right? Even our personal life, right? It's like we wake up, use the restroom, do number one, hopefully do number two early on, brush your teeth, right? Like we have our systems. And then working with your partner if you're in a relationship, or if you live with your family, like who's cooking, who's not cooking for the day, asking those questions. So I'm even like, how would you define systems? Because for me, when I think about it, I'm like, does that mean it's all the things you're doing at repeat? So when we kind of want to take it a step back, Juliana, I would love to ask like what people can do to see what are their systems in place. I guess the question is, what are you doing repeatedly in your business?
Yeah, it's what do you do repeatedly? So like your core business operations, for yourself, speaking with your clients, hosting calls, recording the podcast, like those are your main buckets, your huge, like big rocks, you might call them. And then if you break those down even further, you have your milestones to achieve those. So podcast, who are you interviewing? What's the title? How are you introducing people? So you can go really big, like these are the main things that we need to achieve in the business. And then you continuously break those down into smaller milestones. All of those things are encompassed within your systems. And to get those, you just kind of have to sit down and think about it. And, you can think about it, the things that you do over and over and over and over, but also like you can think, how do I react to certain things? If I get a call from a customer, what do I do? You might not do this thing every day, but if you get a call from a customer, you take down their information. And then once you take it down, what's the next step? And then once you put them into your directory, then what's the next step? You put them into your email funnel or whatever that looks like. So there's two things. It's what do you do repetitively? What triggers you to make a next action? Both of those are, I would say, just as important because you want to make sure you're not skipping steps or missing steps throughout your business.
Yeah. And Juliana and I are actually working with a product-based business right now. Last year, they generated close to $500,000. And the year before, it's $250K. But we both know, like, once they have their systems in place, it will just be easier for them to scale to that $1 million. But it's just what is happening repeatedly? Who's responsible? What are the next action items? And I even think about my own business with Monica. I mean, I used to do these podcasts weekly. We used to do the newsletters weekly. I had to ask myself, how much time and energy is it taking it from me and my team? A lot. So then we made the decision of going bi-weekly. So even looking at your systems of what can be tweaked. Anything you want to add to that, Monica?
Oh, yeah. No, that felt so good when we did that.
Yeah, you're like, thank God, Elaine.
No, I think it's just like that's the kind of the power of reflection. And I think, a lot of people get really excited to implement marketing, which is great, but measuring it is like the main driver of strategy and systems. And like if you're not reflecting on it and seeing what's working and what's not, then you're actually like putting too much weight on your systems probably because there's probably too much going on. And then your strategy is unfounded because you're just doing too much and you don't actually know what's working.
Yeah. Because like I said, go ahead, Juliana. Sorry.
No, I just picked up on it and you doubled down on it, Monica. Elaine, you mentioned who's doing which step of your system. Huge
Each
and
step.
important because each step, because you might find that your system just doesn't work because you don't have the bandwidth, you don't have the people within your business to do it. So that means you scale back until you get to that point. And in identifying who's responsible, you need to because it needs to get done, but also like who is there to identify when there is a problem or a risk to getting things done. You could say this person is responsible for everything financial. That means that they're the one to ring the bell if the inventory isn't on site and all of a sudden that we're not getting the dollar infusion that we need, but somebody has to be the person to call that out. And looking at, like you said, the hours that it took you to get things done. If you look at, we have 75 hours worth of things to do that are all assigned to Juliana. This isn't working because there aren't that many hours in the week. So very important to look at both the what, the how, and who is getting things done within your business.
And I think we could just use the example of this podcast, right? So I do record, I hit this record, right? I'm the one that reached out to the podcast guest, which is both of you. And then I send this out to my podcast manager who does the editing, puts it up on my website, puts it up on all the podcast platforms. And then my assistant takes it, puts the specific URLs for each podcast. I'm just sharing with you. A lot of people think like hit record, Elaine then puts it. No, there's a lot of work behind the scenes. And then I have Caitlin create the show notes. I review it. So I make sure I put my notes. I send it to Monica. So she edits it so it's optimized. And then Jave, my tech assistant, that uploads it onto ActiveCampaign. I don't know how many steps I just explained, but there's a step and there's each person responsible for it. So it's not just, oh, I want to have my own podcast. All I do have to hit is record. No, there are a lot of things that happen after this is hit record.
A lot.
Yeah. And how icky would this feel if you were doing all of them?
Yeah.
No.
Well, and then also there's a lot of people out there that are. So shout out to you. And hopefully we can get some tidbits in there for people who are that person, because that's a big one.
Yeah. A good book I recommend when it comes to letting go of the control piece and delegating to people is The Big Leap and focusing on your zone of genius. So I'll make sure to put that into show notes. So Juliana, anything else you want to share about your debate about why systems are sexy and the most important thing in business?
I think it's one thing to have them in place. If you have a smaller business, you can just have a quick Excel spreadsheet or whatever is easiest for you to have visibility. But as your business grows, it's also important to have a place where everyone has visibility, whether it be just a drive that everyone can go to just, reassess where are we at? What do we do next? Like that kind of thing. So it's one thing to have them available, but also make sure that people can see them and reference them as they're working the system.
So when I think about action items, what action items do you have for our audience that you want to share when it comes to systems so they could get started or make it better?
Document. Even if it's very simple, brain dump onto a Word document, start there and just continuously update it, ask for help, ask your team members to write down what they do, within a week so you can get a visibility to what's happening in their world. But making sure that things are on paper is really helpful to then, reiterate and update and get more efficient throughout your business life cycle.
Yeah. Monica, anything else you want to add about what do you appreciate about systems?
I don't think so.
Okay. So Monica, why do you think marketing is the number one thing that's needed for a business? Or
look,
what can people do when it comes to marketing so they could be focused rather than do all the things? Because there's so much social media platforms out there.
Yeah.
And then add AI.
I saw this funny thing about ChatGPT or AI, and it was like, AI is never going to replace us because it can't help clients figure out what they want. Which is 100% the truth. I can say as a copywriter, most of the time I'm like, okay, what do you want? And they have no idea, which is fine. But AI is not going to help you with that. Not yet, at least. I don't know. Like arguing for marketing to be the most important thing in a business is my like holistic like brain and personality is like, I can't possibly argue that. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
And
sorry.
My marketing, like my like tried and true marketing like brain is like, well, you can have all the systems in place, you can have the inventory, but without the marketing, you just did all that for nothing. So it's like,
Juliana, are you okay? Did that hurt a little? Are you okay?
But I'm not finished. I'm not finished. But you can do a ton of marketing and sell a bunch of stuff, and then like things will just be like chaos. But that could be a better situation than doing all the systems and having all the inventory and having no marketing to actually sell the stuff.
Monica, there's a lot of big butts here.
I know, because these things, there's nuance. These are not, it's not a black and white situation. I think it really also depends on like, you could do all the systems first, you could get everything in place, then you could move on to marketing. But I think it's the reality of like people generally don't do both at the same time. They're generally picking one or the other to start with. So I think it also depends on like, how do you like to roll when you start a business? Like what's going to make more sense to you? For me,
good question.
Yeah, like what can you handle if you can't like really set up a business like, you know, like a corporation would, which by the way, working in corporations, like they're shit shows too. So so it's also kind of like, you know, what system can you start with? And I think what I will say is that I think some type of marketing should be done in the beginning to assess demand, or if people even like your product or your service. I don't think setting up entire systems around a product that isn't tested is wise. So I think that's an argument that I would make for marketing first. I mean, and there's a system within marketing too, right? That if you have worked in marketing, you learn the like 4 Ps of marketing, like product, price, place, promotion. Like there's a system of like,
I feel like I'm in college right now.
There's a system within the system, like marketing's all about money. And like, if you don't have the math part of like marketing down, then you're not going to know what to spend in order to what to bring in and to like cover your cost and make a profit. So I think they're forever intertwined. I have no, even though I'm talking a big game, I really don't think you could have one without the other. And I think, you know, there's a way to strip these down so you have something good enough on both sides to be able to like get your business going and not be like lacking totally on one end or the other. So I think the answer is a happy medium and to not be too hard on yourself in either direction.
Monica,
I know that's so diplomatic.
Monica wins Miss Universe because they believe in world peace.
I do. Between all the business prongs, I believe in world peace. Because it really like, yeah, you can't, it's just like these levers they can't like hold on by themselves. Like they're going to break if you just put all the pressure on one. So I think it's really important. And for people, I think you asked me like what they can focus on to not like do the most. Was that the other question?
Kind of. Well, I wanted to bring it back because what was interesting is like, what do you want to do? What can you create in your business? And I'm thinking about even us working together. When I hired you on to help me with marketing, I just told you, I just don't want to be on social media all the time. I don't want to have to like show up my face, do lives every day, which I did. I did Facebook lives every day on Facebook because I'm crazy. And I was like, I just want people to come to me. And for those of you that are into human design, I was like, for those of you that are in human design, I'm a projector. I just want people to come to me, which works with 70% referrals and renewals. So we put a game plan around that in terms of, okay, let's focus on emails, blogs, and SEO. And they just come. I was in Nebraska and I got for a 6-day vacation and I had 5 sales calls scheduled without promoting anything. Not that I wasn't promoting anything, but all the systems were working in place for people to come to me. But
the system continues to promote. It's not like you have to
I put you in there, Juliana. And just say marketing.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, but I mean, I will say like, you know, the importance of marketing and marketing experience. And if you don't have marketing experience, hiring someone, like this is not a shameless plug. It's just like going to save you a lot of time and a lot of money.
Monica, you go sell yourself. Go sell us.
It's like, you know, I have a friend who's done marketing for a long time and he has started like several businesses. And, you know, his point was like, you know, if there's someone with like subject matter expertise, but no marketing experience and someone with marketing experience, but no subject matter expertise, I'm choosing the marketing experience to start a business. Because at the end of the day, like that's what it is. You can have an amazing product, but if you can't market it in a way that brings a message like Juliana was and like Juliana was saying and stays consistent with that message and builds that brand loyalty and, you know, has that like customer service and like, you know, communications like solid, it's not going to work. So I think marketing is definitely at the core of business for sure. Like, absolutely. I will fight for that for sure.
What action items would you have for listeners when it comes to creating a holistic and aligned marketing plan for themselves.
Yeah, I think it also depends on what phase you are in your business. Have you had one for a little bit? Or am I talking to you and you've had one for a little bit? Am I talking to you and you're thinking about starting one? These would be just like there are different audiences for different messages and products. Like these answers would be different depending on the audience.
Let's talk about they've been in business for a while and they're probably overwhelmed doing all the things. Like what I was.
Yeah.
Baby Elaine or Teenage Elaine. Teenage Elaine. Teenage Elaine.
Yeah. I think it would even be helpful, just like Juliana's advice is to just sit down for a second and even just brain dump everything that you're doing. Like, what are you doing all the time for your business marketing wise? Brain dump all of that. If you have systems that house analytics for you, print those analytics reports. That's something where it's like, if you don't know how to read them, that could be harder. So I think for me, it's just like, really brain dump what you've been doing in your business and think about how, if you don't have like an intake form where people say, oh, I found you through Instagram or referral, or which I highly recommend. But if you don't have that, kind of look at like the way you're marketing and try to just like in your mind, think about how many people have come from each platform. If you don't have that, like just down, the biggest thing is like, what are you doing and how is it working? And it's going to be a little hard if you've been doing things for a while and you haven't been measuring them, which is not something that is like, it's not too late. It's never too late to measure things, but it is going to take a minute. And if you look at that list and you're like, well, one, I don't enjoy that. And I also like, don't think it's really like moving the needle, just like cut it out. Just cut it out. I mean, at this point, it's like, you don't have anything to lose when you're cutting out some of your marketing. You're going to free up some money. You're going to free up some time, and you're going to finally get to this, like, you're going to play Tetris and figure out what's actually like getting you revenue and what your customers are really resonating with content wise. So I think just start removing things. Use your gut. If you're not measuring things, you probably know like how things are going. So I think that's, if you've been doing business for a long time, it's not the most like cut and dry system, but it is something you're just going to have to get like kind of a gut check for, like just gut check it a little bit.
Yeah. And so for my intuitive people, my spiritual people, like I'm Reiki certified and everyone, and it's like, but I know I feel like I should do it this way. I feel like this is not working or this isn't. Yeah. And your intuition is right. But what data does, it actually validates that intuition so that you have confidence to move forward. So yes, to everything that you said, because we have a marketing stats document that one of my team members puts together every week, like looking at my Instagram, my emails, my podcast, LinkedIn, and then looking at numbers, seeing which content is resonating, which one is actually getting people to my email list or becoming calls, because I don't care about the number of likes. Just do I have people into my email list or calls? And then from there, you could see what's working and not. And when we did that, we're like, I don't really want to be on Instagram a lot. And if anything, if I'm on social media, I'll just ask people to be on my email or a podcast. So numbers are important.
Numbers are so important. And if you haven't started doing that, it's not the end of the world for sure. You can get that going. But I think if you don't have any numbers, another thing I would recommend is like find out everything you can about the people that are buying your products or services, like everything you can in whatever way you can find it out. Ask them questions, send a survey with a discount or whatever, like give an incentive for a survey, because like that information is like the fuel for your business. If you don't know who your business is for, then it doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to reach them. So I think if you've been selling to people, then find out so much about them. And then you can kind of like fill in the gaps of like, oh, I think we're missing an opportunity here because we're only reaching people who have these like, personality traits and things that they like. And we know our product could also resonate with these folks. And then you can really like look at how to target your marketing to folks so the message resonates with them. And so they feel, like they relate to your product and your brand.
Yeah. Juliana, I saw you nodding your head ferociously. Anything you wanted to add?
Ferociously.
There's so many things. Full disclosure, I spent the majority of my career in executive level project management and chose to niche down into marketing project management. So my loves have combined into those two areas in my 9-to-5. So, all the pieces of it, especially the measurement of it, as I'm thinking about what is the most important part of a business, it's the customer to me. I know I just threw in a whole fourth option here.
Yes,
but
it is. Yes, it is.
And understanding your customer, being able to speak to your customer, measuring when something's shifted with your customer. If your client is not interested in boba anymore. Like maybe you need to start talking about Coke. I don't know. But
I don't like soda.
just having
that doesn't align with my values, Juliana.
Me neither. We can talk about like the best, healthiest water to drink or something. I don't know. But so when I think about like how do you get close to your customer, systems, your customer doesn't care about your systems. What they care about is the messaging they're seeing and their experience with your brand. And measuring your marketing is I think the quickest way to do that. Of course, the surveys. I love that you mentioned surveys. I think that's where I started getting really excited because, your survey is going to tell you everything. Is your packaging speaking to your client? Do they like the formula of your product? Are they happy with, I don't know, how you're delivering it? There's so many pieces to that client experience. And if you're not able to get that information, which is what the marketing department does, everything else doesn't matter. They don't care if your HR team is doing great events for your employees or things like that. Your client is there for themselves. So what do they want and how are they experiencing you? I think that is key. So I love that we touched on that.
Well, and listening and taking action. So vulnerability moment for me to even share back when the pandemic was happening. Juliana, remember you put those retreat boxes together for me with the gifts and then branded stuff. And then Monica,
that was fun.
You and a couple of people gave me direct feedback. Like, we're not going to use these t-shirts, Elaine. Like, this was too much. I'm like, oh my God, I could have saved thousands of dollars, literally thousands to not do this. But I listened. I don't do it. And if anything, now I have my retreats at the University City Club. The next one's October 5th and 6th if you want to come. And we're not in an Airbnb house anymore because everybody needs their own space from one another. But I just make sure people are fed their spaciousness to connect with each other. And that's what they need, not the things. I thought they needed the things.
Well, and some people love the things. And that's the thing. You just know that about your audience now. Like, that's not a bad strategy. Some people love boxes with things and they feel really special when they get those things.
Yeah.
But your audience they have other values.
There's still presents. I just want to let people know there's still presents you get from my retreats. You get a candle.
I got a candle.
There's a candle, there's a face mask and a journal. So like the essentials.
Nice.
Right.
That's nice.
So Juliana, I apologize. I gave you a headache creating those boxes with gifts. You know what?
It was fun. I love it. Organizing, wrapping. That's my thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was a learning experience. I know that's a small example. A really difficult example that I want to share was I had a client and they left working with me because I wasn't showing up the same way during the sales process as I was when she finally became a client, because I would send notes of action items in the beginning, but I stopped doing that once she converted. And she was like, things have changed and shifted. And I wasn't reading things or just into detail. I'm like, why did I do that? Not just to her, but I realized I did that in all my process from like leads to like now becoming a client. So now I have a process and system where my team and I send out every Monday accountability emails with action items. Sorry, Monica, you still get it every Monday.
It's okay.
But also
I love it. Even though I'm not doing it.
I know, but with also a disclaimer, like, hey, you're human, things happen. You don't need to do these action items, but people love it. And that has improved my customer service, one. And two, when I have people who are dating other coaches, figuring out who they want to work with, they always tell me, well, I really love the attention to detail you give to your clients. So even my coaching experience was very different from when you first started working with me, when you were a client, Monica.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I will also say that you keep like throwing curveballs into this podcast because you didn't tell me Juliana does marketing systems now. So you just have her making my argument for me in this beautiful beautiful way.
Oh, that goes
well,
to the next. Go ahead, Juliana.
If you didn't have the system within your marketing to measure and make sure someone's doing it.
That's true. Best case scenario. But I will say I have, had done the wing it a few times and it still works. It still works for a little while. But speaking of winging it and doing a bunch of stuff, which I don't recommend, even though I was just joking about it, and I have done it for sure. But if you have not started a business and you're thinking about it, definitely really important to get those systems in place to measure things so you know things from the beginning. But I will also say, please do not start doing like 6 different marketing tactics because you really
are again.
Don't start with the 6 different marketing tactics because you're really not going to know, even if you're measuring some of them. And if you can measure some of them, you're still not going to know like which one usually is like bringing in the most. So it's like start with like 2, focus really hard on those things. One, it's like if you're pulled in too many directions, you're not doing something super well. You're just not. And if you don't have a team, it's just not possible to do something that takes that amount of time, which 6 different marketing channels would take a wild amount of time. And so that's like people who haven't started their business, I would, pick like 2 marketing channels or 2 marketing tactics you want to start with, see how those go and build upon that instead of just like diving straight into everything.
And just to tie, my argument here, we are debating the systems into measuring your marketing. If your marketing team is measuring something and you see that my client only wants shorts, they don't care about jeans, and you start marketing the shorts, but don't tell the merchandising department that we need to buy more shorts because we just found out our client wants that. And, you tell them that we need to mark down the pants because no one's buying them. So we need to make sure that those sell out. It's not going to work. So, systems, numero uno.
And I'll also,
I don't know, the world peace has happened.
No, I just like, that's a great point. And your marketing folks have the pulse on your customer. Like no one's going to have a pulse on your customer, like the marketing teams in your business. So if they're telling you that people are not resonating with a certain product or a certain message, or people don't actually want that, please listen to them because we're not clowns on social media. We're strategists that are the closest to your customer that you'll ever get. So just wanted to throw that in there.
I mean, a thing that I changed in my business. So I would have group coaching calls, right, for 2 hours. Monica, you remember this. And I remember my clients happily stayed for 2 hours, especially during the pandemic, because we had nowhere else to go. But then what I noticed, because Zoom fatigue, we all have it now, people are not going to stay 2 hours on a call. So I've changed the word group coaching call to office hours instead. And I let my clients know, come in when you want to. You don't have to come for the full 2 hours. You don't even need to come for all 2 hours. Come in for 5-10 minutes, whatever you want, get what you need and leave. Yeah. And I had to adjust and adapt to that because of what my clients were even saying. Legacy leader, want more tips, advice, and funny gifts straight into your inbox? Sign up for my Call Your Dreams newsletter at elainelou.com/join. That's ELAINELOU.com/join. JOIN. So, how's my newsletter different from this podcast? Glad you asked. Think of my newsletter as an up-to-date diary, like Zynga or Live Journal for my fellow millennials out there. I get more personal with lessons learned in my life and career and share important life tips like the everything but the bagel seasoning from Trader Joe's. Have you gotten it? You should go get it. And Trader Joe's, if you are listening, please sponsor me. So, are you ready to align your leadership and life? Join my free newsletter at elainelou.com/join. So, now that we have come to a kumbaya moment when it comes to marketing, systems, and strategy, I would love for you to share why all 3 is important. And I also want to share the personal side of it too. When you have your systems in place, you could have your personal life in place and have those boundaries in place. So, I mean, we're recording this on a Friday, but that's because I came back from vacation. But for me, like Tuesday through Thursdays are my call days, whether it's a coaching call, a sales call, interviewing for podcasts. And then Mondays are my CEO days, looking at my dashboard, my numbers. And then Fridays are like a free day. If I want to work, I work. If I want to do calls, I do calls, or I go hiking or whatever it is. And then I could have like a 4-day weekend if I need it. But from that, I'm like, okay, Tuesdays, Thursdays, I'm doing calls. It makes it so much easier for me to schedule my life rather than being reactive. So that's what I want to share, why it's so important to have your strategy, marketing, and systems in place so you can have a life, not just be working all the time. So why is all 3 important? Go ahead, Monica, then Juliana.
No, I was just going to say, like, and I'm the opposite. I don't really like to be boxed in on my schedule. So for me, like, my system is more like flexibility than it is like, I think sometimes people think a system has to be this really rigid thing, and your system could really give you room to be more flexible. So I think also that's like something, because none of like ever like content batching or putting certain things on certain days for me, none of that's ever worked for me. It doesn't make me feel supported in my business. So I think for me, I'm definitely more of a like, I don't want to say reactionary, but I do like, I feel, especially being bipolar and like, I don't know who I'm going to be when I wake up every day. Like, I don't know where I'm going to be at with my productivity or like how I'm feeling, if I'm feeling on one spectrum, like one extreme or the other, or if I'm feeling very stable. So it's like my systems have to be very flexible to like who I am in that moment and how productive I can be. So I think for folks out there that might operate in that way, it's important to remember that your system doesn't have to look like the system that most entrepreneurs talk about. Let's be real. That's most of the info out there is like when to do what and how to box your time and content batch and all the things that are great if you're able to like exist that way, I guess.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I would love for you to share for anyone, whether they're bipolar, have anxiety, just life in general, what advice would you have for people when sharing that with their team? It's like, I know we do it this day. Well, at the same time, this is me. Yeah. This is how I function. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, making sure you're meeting deadlines. I'm curious, like, what advice would you have for folks?
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of it was like just pushing away any shame associated with me not being able to work at certain times of the day. Like 9 to 5 jobs, even though like right now I have one, I'm also very like upfront with, my supervisor. Like, I mean, if people don't want me to work the way that I work, then I don't really want to work for them. So that's like a whole other thing. But like, yes, I think for me, it was like removing the shame of like, yeah, I can't be productive these certain hours during the day. Like I really only have this much in me and I know myself and I know that now. And I'm not going to sit there for like 3 hours at the end of the day and shame myself for not being able to like be productive. I think it's like part trying to remove the shame of a capitalist system that's saying like you work a certain way or you're not worth anything in this world. Like that's just like something that I've definitely tried to decondition myself from. And I think also it's kind of just like if you like, mental health is something that people say they care about, that workplaces like to say that they care about. And sometimes like there's no action around that. That's just them saying that they care about your mental health. But when it comes to what you actually need, it is really hard to voice that and to let people know, like I'll do certain things where I'll be like, do I need to be responsible on Slack every moment of the day? Because honestly, I can't get work done. Like if I'm looking at Slack every thing in the day.
Notifications, it's a lot.
Yeah. So I'll be like, hey, can I put like a block out on my calendar? And I'm just like, unless something's really urgent, like I don't, I want to be able to like focus. For me in the hours of the day, that's like 9 to 12, where it's like, I'm really good in the morning. I know I'm really good in the morning. That's when I get a lot of work done. So really kind of like paying attention to my patterns and asking for what I need. And if it's a problem, then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I think it's also being really honest and upfront. Like I'm very upfront with people I work with. Like, maybe they don't understand it. Maybe they think it's an excuse, but I'm not going to not tell people anymore and act like I just go through the workday like there's no ups and downs or like, and I think that's everyone, but I feel safe to talk about it. So I just tell them as much as possible,
I really appreciate you sharing it and being on the other side in terms of like when I want you to review things, even in my business, hey, can you review this?
Yeah.
You're very upfront with me, which I appreciate. Like, I can't today. I'm just, and you say like, I'm just not feeling it. Not that you don't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, you don't have the capacity to. And even this happened to me last week. I spoke to you, but like I was on my period, day 2, major fucking cramps.
Yeah.
And I had a coaching call with a client and it was in about 20 minutes, but I just knew I couldn't do the call because I just knew I would look like a bitch and I would not be present. So I was like, we need to reschedule. And I should have told her, I'm like, we need to reschedule because my cramps are too much right now. And I'm grateful I did. So just want to share that. And if my client was not okay with it, then similar to what you just said, I wouldn't want a client that wouldn't understand as well.
Right. Yeah. Which is like, sometimes that's not an option. Like sometimes you just have to make money and that's what you have to do. And that's just a reality. But as much as I can And you'd be surprised how many people just like feel a little more like empowered to be able to do that for themselves. If you do it for yourself, it's kind of like this ripple effect, which is really cool too. But I think, people always are like, oh, you just have to be consistent. I like to joke that I'm consistently inconsistent because like it's just not how I exist in the world. And I feel like, with marketing and systems and things like that, like they can feel like very daunting because it's like you need to do it all the time. You need to like repeat it. You need to never stop, because some people will stop and then they'll just spiral because they like fell off a little bit. And then it's like, you don't like, it's all like systems are all about testing things. Marketing's all about testing things and giving it time. And just like if you fall off, just get back on it. Think about like what consistency, what frequency you can do something at if that wasn't working. Like Juliana was saying, if there's more tasks than there is hours in the week, then that's not going to work. But I think it's a really good opportunity to be like, cool, that was getting too much. So why? And what can I actually take on?
Also, I'm also hearing like giving yourself grace and space too, because you might be just in a different stage in your life.
Yeah, for sure.
Like last year, I lost both my grandmas. So I was very grateful that I only had podcasts every other week and newsletters every other week as opposed to every week, so that I gave myself time to grieve. Juliana, anything else you want to add as we're talking about mental health and boundaries and coming as you are?
Yeah, I love how this conversation has taken this on, because systems are not meant to be anxiety inducing. They're supposed to be the opposite, to give you the freedom to take all of these lists and the how-tos and this happens out of your mind, so you don't have to think about it anymore. So if you're having that day when you're like, all I can do is this, you can simply look at a piece of paper and be like, good, I only need to do step 1 today, 4 through 5 or whatever, 2 through 5. I don't even have to think about today because they're not relevant. And it's also a piece of like, you don't have to do 1 through 5. If you're like, for this particular task, step 2 and 6 don't matter. Like, we don't need to do it. We could skip it. Maybe I need to tell this person that this isn't going to happen for this particular whatever, but it's not meant to be so rigid that you have to do something at 4:00 every Friday. It's like, okay, this is the plan. This is what needs to happen next for this to happen. And then you can just kind of ease yourself into getting the work done versus it being really anxiety inducing. I know some people just can't look at a timeline, which is fair. Sometimes they can be very
You love it, don't you?
Overwhelming. I do love it, but it's not for everybody. It's absolutely not. And they can be overwhelming. And I think the reason why, certain areas of certain businesses need a project manager, because it's a lot. I mean, some projects, if you're opening a new store, there's like 600 steps. Who can look at that and do the steps? It's a lot of work, very tedious, a lot of numbers, 16 different departments to get something done. But if this week, I just have to do 2 things, you don't have to think about the rest of the pie. So I hope that everyone can take that with them, that it might just be like a communications list. Like, if we choose not to carry shorts next year, I need to tell these 4 people in the business. Not so strict. If this happens in finance, like, it doesn't have to be so serious all the time, I think.
Yeah. And that like totally, like if like you were talking about all that affects the different departments. And if you're one person, then you simply need less to do. You need less steps and for things to go as far as possible. So yeah, I love that. I usually like when, some days it's just like all I can do is like make it through the day. And some days I'm like, I have to be like, cool, I have this list of things to do, these steps to do during the week. And like, what's something that needs to be done today? And maybe it doesn't need to be. If it really is that bad of a day, maybe it just doesn't need to be and something can be pushed. And honestly, usually things are not that serious. Like they can be pushed, but it is definitely good to just have like that like priority of like, cool, if I do this today, I'm gold. I can just like actually take care of myself for the rest of the day or the week.
Mm-hmm. And it makes those hours where you're not doing anything a little bit more easeful, because like, I know there's a list for next week, but it's going to sit there and wait till next week.
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing when it comes to the strategy, marketing systems, the bigger question is like, how do you want this business to work for you, with you as a human, holistically, right? Looking at all aspects. What's my time? What's my capacity? What are things going on in my life? Do I have kids? Do I have an aging parent? Am I bipolar? Do I have ADHD? Taking all that into consideration, because it could be really difficult when you're seeing what other people, I mean, I've told Monica this many times. I don't like the word competitors, but when you're looking at other competitors in your industry, like, well, they're all doing all this. I need to do it. Like, no, what do you need? So you could go to the gym. So you could go see a therapist. So you could just lie down and take a nap because life is overwhelming.
Yeah. And actually enjoy that time and recover. Like Juliana was saying, it's like not like, it's the worst when you're like, okay, I need to like take time for myself. And then you're just agonizing over all the things you're not doing instead of actually taking time for yourself.
Totally.
Yeah. And I think communication is a big thing in everything. It's like, if you can only do certain steps, like it's that communication part of like you're communicating with clients or team members or whatever, like this is what I'm going to get to today. So they know, and you're not feeling that like looming like call out that maybe like someone's going to say because you haven't told everyone that you're only getting these things done.
And let's go back to systems, right? So like, for example, when one of my team members is gone and she can't do the specific task for a certain project, then at least we had the standard operating procedures and someone else in the team could do it. So then that person could enjoy their vacation. Or if they're going through something in health, like they need to go see a doctor or they're just not feeling well, then it'll be taken care of. So your business is not failing. So with all that being said, Monica, I'm sorry, I'm going to put you in the spot to marketing because you are a marketing strategist. There's something I am. I'm doing it. I didn't even warn you. So we're doing something. It's a new service that we're doing for all three of us. Monica, since you're the marketing strategist here, go ahead and pitch it.
Well, I
don't want to do it.
You announce it. What's the name of it? You announce it.
It's called a business health audit. I kind of want to change the name in the middle of this podcast recording. I kind of now want to call it a business holistic health audit.
Yeah.
Are we good with that?
We can talk about it.
Okay, we can talk about it after this podcast. We're probably going to change the name after this podcast. So, Monica, what is it?
We can change the name. Yeah, I think, for me, I have an offer that goes in and I like do an audit on people's marketing systems and their marketing strategies and what's working and what's not and give recommendations based on that. And this is like ×3. So you're not just going to get that in your marketing. You're going to get that. We've had a lot of conversation today about how marketing and systems are very dependent on each other and that they need to be valued as such. So you're going to get that audit and that reflection in your systems and in your overall strategy. And like, it's for me, if you have a picture that big, like you're not going to fail. If you have that whole picture and the next steps to, maybe just like making your business a little more lean, making it easier on your time and resources, giving more clear next steps for your team, even like knowing your audience better so you're giving them a product that they really like crave. I think it's having the data on all your systems and your marketing and your strategy and how that's working in your business is only going to make your business, 5-10 times more efficient and more of something that your ideal client is looking for. So I think, this business health, holistic business health audit.
We're going to work on the name. We're going to work on
the name is basically that with the three of us. And I think, you have three people who have a lot of experience in our subject matter coming in and getting that experience and that look into your business so you don't have to like guess anymore. And I think that's a lot of it, saving you time, money, and guessing, which guessing about things cost you a lot of time and money. So really having that like confidence and that strategy around all of these things that you can move forward with and not second guess.
Thank you, Monica. Did you like how I just delegated that to you?
I did. I was not ready for it, but I do like
You're
it.
like, bitch, you just gave it to me.
Wasn't ready. Hopefully that was fine.
Well, and who is this for? This is for business owners that are creating a revenue of $250K and more, because we know that you already have a solid product and you know what marketing channels are probably working. And also maybe you're having somewhat of an identity crisis because you're doing all the things and you want your life back. So what happens is you're going to get a questionnaire of questions from three of us. You're going to meet with three of us so we get to know your business a little more, and then meet with each of us individually so we can start auditing. And then at the end, we'll give you a proposal of recommendations on what you could do to create a more aligned business to the life you want. Like, for example, as I'm recording this, like mid-July, I'm going to Tanzania for 2 weeks because I'm going to hike Kilimanjaro and then go on a safari. So that's 2 weeks off the grid. So no cell service, no laptop. But I have the systems in place Monica's going to do some marketing calls. I know, Juliana, you're doing some like system operations calls with my clients. And you could have this life too, whatever life it is, by the way. I'm not saying you have to go to Tanzania. Some people don't want to be that adventurous. Maybe you just want to be at a beach. Juliana, anything you want to add on the systems side that you're excited about for people? Because I know also we've been working with a couple of my clients on systems too.
Yeah, I think the exciting thing for me is giving people a next step. With business, you can find 75 different problems that need to be solved, but which is the one that you want to put all of your attention into? And that's something I'm really passionate about helping people with, and just figuring out where should your focus be? Where within your timeline can we look at these other things, or are they not important for, whatever your core business is? So really excited to help businesses kind of figure out what their next steps are in a 360 kind of way.
Yeah. So you're just going to come in and then we'll help support you in creating the life and business you want, and then just give you some recommendations. So, and this is just
not too many though. Enough steps that you can actually implement. I think also there's with these types of things, it's like someone's going to throw all this value in because you think more is more instead of less is more. And I think it's really important, like Juliana was saying, what's the next step, but also having a really doable plan after something like this. And that's definitely my passion. Is I could throw a bunch of marketing ideas at someone, but is that really going to be helpful? Can they implement them? Will they move the needle? Does it make sense for their business? So I think there will be an action plan that is actually doable, and you won't be overwhelmed by that plan.
And Monica, I would love for you to share, I mean, when this episode drops, it's June 1st. Why do you think it would be helpful for people in this summer, especially as they're prepping for Q3 and Q4 to do this audit?
I mean, it definitely depends on your business, but I think with, service-based businesses and things, a lot of the time summer can be a slower time. People are out enjoying things, but then there's certain businesses where summer is your main time of the year. So it kind of just depends. I think if your business is slows down a little bit, it's a great time to stop and look at everything and get ready for fall and winter that are usually busier times with all the shopping and getting ready for the new year and all the things that make people spend the money that you want to be ready for. And I think also it's just for me, it's a vibe, summer, and really people say spring cleaning, but really I'm coming to life in the summer because I live in the Pacific Northwest. And so during the winter, I'm just there's no way that I'm going to be able to reflect on things. But I feel like summer is such a rejuvenating time, and it can be for your business. And I think it's really important to do those things when your energy is really in it. So I don't know. I think summer's just good ass vibes.
Yeah. And Juliana, you've done a lot of audits for your own clients. What have you seen that's been helpful for them when they receive their recommendations from you?
I think it's exactly what Monica said. It's overwhelming to see all the things that could potentially be done in your business versus focus here because of this reason. And then you can kind of move forward with confidence. If you're spreading yourself into 5 different directions, you're not going to be as strong as if you're focusing on 1 or 2. So I think that's the key here, is to really be strategic in tying all 3 of these very important areas of business together so that your business can grow.
Yeah, so I just created world peace. We're holding hands now, sharing the trophy. I kind of think of it
the face-off has ended.
No, Mean Girls, when I forgot, she gets the crown and she throws the pieces around to other people.
Yes.
That's kind of the scene that
We've all got a piece of the crown.
Yeah. So like I said earlier, it's for business owners creating revenue at 250K and above. And you'll get all 3 of us auditing your business to making sure that you create the life you want. Yeah. It is $5,000 one-time payment or 2 monthly payments of $2,500. And you could schedule a call with me to see if it's a good fit at elainelu.com/call. And I'll let you know if it's not a good fit. So I'm not going to try to convert you. We just need to make sure we vibe well. That is all. But honestly, you might be in love with just one person here, whether that is Monica or Juliana. Maybe someone has won your heart and you just want to work with them directly. And that's cool too. So Juliana, people want to connect with you directly. How can they find you?
I can be found on my website, jwiseprojects.com, and I support businesses with project management, operations management, as well as systems automation. So would be happy to connect.
And Monica, how can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at monicaschrock.com, which I'm sure will be in the notes, but also at Money Schrock on Instagram. DMs are always open if you want to chat. And I help folks with marketing strategy, copywriting, mostly marketing strategy and copywriting. Specifically love helping with email marketing. And I also have a monthly subscription where you could have me one-on-one access for any marketing questions you have called Fast Break. So definitely love doing that and being a marketing consultant in their pocket kind of vibe. That's kind of my favorite way to be.
I have Monica in my pocket.
Yeah. Whenever you need.
So to conclude this episode, I would love for you to share like one reflection question, action item, or anything you want to share to our audience. Juliana, any last words you want to share, whether it's a reflection, action item, or anything?
I just love the mental health aspect of our conversation. I know for me, I'm comfortable looking at timelines, and I hadn't thought about it that, some of the people that I support may be overwhelmed with that timeline. Yeah. So just really helping them to understand, like, it's not about putting all this scary stuff on paper, but really making it easier for yourself, because now you can look at a smaller piece of the pie and feel comfortable that that's where you can focus. So I just hope that we can make ops management, project management systems a little bit more palatable for people that maybe just don't think that way. So thanks for this combo. This is great.
Thank you. Yeah. And thanks for the boba.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome.
I think Monica's boba is probably melted already.
It's okay. It's going to be great either way.
Monica, any last words, reflections, or action items for our audience?
Oh, I loved what Juliana just said. And I think I'll have to just add to it, because I think there's a feeling about marketing in the same way, right? As a lot of times I come across people and they're like, oh, it's too much. It's so daunting. I can't even, I shut down when I think about it. Or that's why I'm not a fan of throwing a bunch of ideas at people, because I know it overwhelms them. Just probably 95% guaranteed going to overwhelm someone if I just throw ideas out. Yeah, I think it's the same thing of really making marketing doable for people, because not everyone can hire a marketing strategist or someone to do it. That's, when, speaking of systems, when you're your own business or have just started a product-based business or something like that, you have to deal with inventory and you're where you're getting your products or service into market and all the things. And then marketing kind of seems like this really daunting task that you're just I know I have to do it. Otherwise all that work doesn't matter, but it is very overwhelming. So I think, I like to help people with that. And I think, thinking about, again, what Juliana said, I will reiterate, your business is about the customer. It is about you, but it's you're not going to sell anything if you don't really know your customer. So I think if you're just starting out, just really think about who that is. Or even if you've been in business for a bit, just really do whatever you can to find out more about them. And then it'll be way less overwhelming, because you'll know what they want and how things resonate with them.
Well, I have two big takeaways. You're a human first, right? So figure out how you want to create your life and business by your definition, not just because everyone else is doing it a certain way and your brain works differently. And second is, I love and appreciate both of you so much. So
same.
Love you too.
Monica, thanks for making a third appearance. I told you she's so secretly trying to just take my podcast and business. That's fine.
No, I'm so happy to be here.
And Juliana, I think you'll probably win silver or gold for most downloaded podcast episode soon.
This episode can be number 2.
Yeah, let's try this episode most downloaded. Let's see what happens. Monica, stay on the line, because I need help with title for this podcast.
Stay on the line, please.
All right. Well, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Business leader, I don't know about you, but I am getting ready for the summer. I'm sure you are too. Wanting to enjoy the sun, being with friends and family that you choose to be around before the crazy Q3 and Q4 holidays come back. So this is the perfect time to do a business health audit with me, Monica, and Juliana, where we can help you create sustainable strategies for a more aligned business and life. So to see if it's a good fit, schedule a call with me at elainelou.com/call. That's ELAINELOU.com/call. So Who's the business health audit for? It's for seasoned business owners who are bringing a minimum revenue of at least $250,000. You'll receive a group call with all three of us so we could better understand your business and the life you want to create so you can do less and live and make more. Then you'll receive one-to-one 60-minute calls with all three of us individually, me for strategy, Monica for marketing, Juliana for systems. Then we'll do our magic and provide some recommendations for you to start realigning your business so you could do less and live more. Like how I'm going to Tanzania this summer for 2 weeks, taking it off, hiking Kilimanjaro for 5 days, then going on a safari. So I'm obviously going to be off the grid, not bringing a laptop, no cell service, so I could be completely present with nature, myself, and my boyfriend. And this is possible for you too. Not saying that you have to go to Africa with me. What I'm trying to say is that you can be completely present in your life and enjoy your own vacation. So the business health audit is $5,000 or 2 monthly payments of $2,500, and it's to the first 5 people. If you're interested, schedule a call with me at elainelu.com/call to see if it's good fit to work with each other. Legacy Leader, did you enjoy today's episode? If so, subscribe to the Color Your Dreams podcast and leave a rating and review. It goes a long way and it lets other fellow leaders find this incredible free resource. And if you want more, you can find all the links and information mentioned in this episode in the show notes on my website at elainelou.com/podcast. That's ELAINELOU.com/podcast. All right, Legacy Leader, I'll see you in our newest episode in 2 weeks. And remember to follow your dreams to lead your legacy.